Alright, y'all. So it's official. Diego Lopez versus Gene Silva is headlining Noche UFC in San Antonio. And man, this thing is going to be pure chaos. 5 rounds booked, but let's be real. I don't think we make it to round 4 or 5, to be real with you. This is one of those guaranteed bangers, you know what I'm saying? Just car crash energies just from the jump. Now, before we dive into this matchup, I gotta say I'm low-key a little bit disappointed we didn't get Yair Rodriguez versus Diego Lopez instead. That was the fight that made sense. But it's like Yair's been out here fighting guys like Pitbull and like losing to Ortega, and somehow he still feels like he's owed another title shot. Like, bro, I don't know who needs to hear this, but Yair getting Volk again does nothing for the division. I really hope that doesn't really happen. Nobody's asking for Volk versus Yair too, but from the ways things are lining up, it looks like that's exactly what we're getting. So yeah, I'm not really thrilled about that. But the good news is, at least we got this absolute dogfight between Lopez and Gene Silva. Two Brazilians, two finishers. Lopez just went 5 rounds with Volkanovski and damn near had him out there at some points of the fights, you know? Gene Silva, on the other hand, is on a 13-fight win streak and just choked out Bryce Mitchell and hasn't even tasted a knockout loss in his entire whole career. This fight is going to be freaking wild. And if the UFC really wanted to stack this Noche card up and give it some extra firepower, I think a perfect co-main event would be Brandon Moreno versus Manel Cap. Like, tell me that wouldn't be a banger. The only thing is, Cap actually has to show up this time. The dude's been pulling out more than he's been fighting lately, so it is what it is. But if he makes it to the cage, that fight would be electricity, let's be honest. And honestly, while we're throwing out cool ideas, why not slide Henry Cejudo versus Mario Bautista somewhere on the main card too? I know it might sound like a little bit fantasy booking at this point, but if the UFC really wants this to feel like a celebration card, not a proper Noche UFC vibe, then stack it with some names like that would hit this card different. Maybe I'm thinking too much, but hey, it is what it is, right? But with all that being said, let's actually get down with this breakdown, okay? So let's start with Diego Lopez, man, because even though Gene Silva is the hot name right now, Diego is the guy with the receipts. The guy that fought Alexander Volkanovski for 5 rounds and made it actually look like a pick'em at times, you know? He didn't just survive, he actually hurt Volk, like legit hurt him. He had moments where you can hear the crowd gasp because it looked like the champ might go down, and that's not normal. Volk doesn't get rattled like that unless it's Topuria or Islam Makhachev, but Lopez was tagging him, cutting angles, landing big shots, and pushing the pace like he didn't care who he was up there with, you know? And that's the kind of magic of Diego Lopez. He doesn't fight like he's ranked. He fights like he's got nothing to lose. Even though he's sitting at the #1 spot in the division right now, he's tall for the featherweight division. He's 5'11" with a 72.5 reach. And you can feel that size when he fights, whether it's in the clinch or when he rips that rear uppercut through the middle, or when he's just standing there at range and just launching bombs. The dude covers ground and he hits hard. He's not the most technical striker in the world. You can argue that Gene Silva has the cleaner form, but Lopez is the explosive fighter, you know, and he knows how to find his moments. But here's the thing with Lopez, he's very hittable, like chin up, hands down, marching forward with reckless confidence. It makes for exciting fights, but it's also dangerous, especially when you're going up against guys like Gene Silva, who throws with like evil intention, you know, or evil intent. That's what makes him so tricky, because as much as I love Diego Lopez's size and his momentum, he leaves himself open, and Gene Silva will absolutely take advantage of that if he gets the chances. Now, switching over to Gene Silva, man, where do we start? The guy is a wild card in the best way possible. Every time he steps into the cage, he's unpredictable. Sometimes he fights long and loose with that karate style of movement, or other times he'll shell up and become a pressure tank, and he's got the power in everything. His hooks, his knees, and even those spinning kicks he'll randomly whip out. And on top of that, he's just got that slick submission too. That ninja choke he hits on Bryce Mitchell. That was calculated, smooth, and violent. And what I love about Gene Silva is how composed he is in the chaos. I mean, after all, we see this guy smiling, he flows, he stays relaxed, while other guys is freaking out. The mental edge is real. Fighters notice that, you know, you're halfway through in round 2, sucking wind, and the dude's over here bouncing on his toes, grinding, and just throwing switch kicks like it's a sparring match. That gets in your head, and he's never been knocked out. Say that again. He's never been knocked out. That's crazy for how wild he is, you know? Now, in terms of the matchup, it's fascinating because both of these guys have clear path to victory. But they come with risk. For Lopez, he's got that size, that pressure, the power, and a deadly rear uppercut. That shot he landed against Sodiq Yusuff at UFC 300, if he lands something like that on Gene Silva, especially when Silva's trying to close the distance, that could be lights out. And being the bigger man, Lopez can work in the clinch, lean on Gene, wear him down, and slow the fight down into his rhythm. But that's where it gets a bit dicey because Gene Silva is fast and his footwork is tricky. He's consistently switching stances, consistently feinting, and he throws punches in bunches. Not just one at a time. He's going to make Lopez bite on feints, reach for shots, and maybe even overextend. And with Lopez keeping his chin up and standing tall, that overhand from Silva is right there. Silva could be losing the early exchanges, then boom, one counter, and it's a different fight. Then there's also the cardio question. Like, look, man, Lopez looked great in the Volk fight, but we've seen him slow down before. Even in the fight with Ortega and Ige, that fight, he had moments where he took his foot off the gas. Now, with that Volk fight, he showed he can go for 5 rounds, but Silva is the kind of guy who can make you work for every second, every round. And we don't know what Silva's gas tank looks for over 25 minutes. This will be his first main event, but he's so calm in there, you almost expect him to keep that same tempo late too. And honestly, man, it's a pick'em. Diego Lopez is the proven commodity. He's got the resume, he's got the size, the momentum, and he's been in deep waters. But Gene Silva is unpredictable, he's dangerous, and might just be the guy who thrives when a fight turns chaotic. It's hard to prep for someone like that, someone who keeps switching up his looks and isn't scared to take risks. And that's why this fight is so freaking exciting, man. There's no boring version of this fight. Someone getting rocked, someone getting dropped, and it might just come down to who survives the second round and who just adjusts in the third. But if I'm forced to make a pick, and trust me, I don't want to, but this is one of those fights where either guy could win with a clean exchange. But if I really had to, dude, I'm gonna lean with Diego Lopez, and here's why. As much as I love the unpredictability of Gene Silva, and trust me, I do, the guy is like a walking highlight reel with a deft grip. I just can't shake the experience gap here. Diego Lopez has been in there with the absolute best. Not ranked top 15 best, not promising prospect best. I'm talking about Volkanovski, who's been running the division for years. I mean, granted, he did get knocked out by Topuria and Islam Makhachev, but still, he was able to keep up with Alex. That's the point I'm trying to get across. And let me tell you something, man. Lopez didn't just show up. He showed out. There were real moments in that fight where people generally thought Volk was in danger. And that's not normal. Nobody makes Volk look like that. Vulnerable. Not Max, not Yair, not even Ortega when he almost strangled him. Only Topuria, if I could be real with you. And again, Islam Makhachev. And the way that Diego handled that pace, the pressure, the big shots, the fact that he lasted and he still had pop in his hands in round 4 and 5, that told me something. That told me that this guy is built for 5-round fights, that he's got the cardio, the mental toughness, and the ability to bite down and still be dangerous late. And against someone like Gene Silva, that's gonna matter a lot, in my opinion, because Silva's never been past 3 rounds in the UFC. We never seen him get tested late. We don't know what he looks like when the adrenaline fades, when the blood's pumping, and when he's got to deal with the guy who's still coming in round 4 after eating everything he's thrown for 15 minutes. What happens when the wheel kicks and the spinning stuff don't work anymore? What happens when the guy across to you just won't go away? Because let me tell you something, Lopez, he's not going away. He's been in the fire, he's tasted championship level pressure, and he answered back with his own heat. And I just want to mention this, I could be totally wrong about this fight. I'm not pretending like I have some crystal ball, because when it comes to Gene Silva, let's be honest, we still don't fully know what we're dealing with. Yeah, he looked like a killer. He just ran through Bryce Mitchell. He's flashy, he's flashy, explosive, unpredictable, all of it. And there is a real chance he walks into this main event and absolutely schools Diego Lopez. Like, I'm not ruling this out at all. That's why this fight is so intriguing. But personally, I just can't bank on that yet. And even though there's the size, man, I know Silva fought at lightweight before. And props to him, beating Drew Dobers with 1 or 2 busted hands. That was a savage. But Lopez is a big featherweight. He's long, wiry, dangerous in the clinch. That rear uppercut, it's filthy. Go watch that Sodiq Yusuff knockout again. That wasn't just a clean shot. That was a sniper kill. And with Silva being the shorter guy who likes to dip and explode forward, that shot is going to be there all night, in my opinion. Plus, Diego doesn't just strike for points. He strikes to hurt you. Yeah, he's hittable. He throws wide sometimes. But every time he lands, it has intense. You feel it. And I really believe that if this fight makes it past the halfway point, Silva's going to start slowing down just enough for Diego's heavier shots to take over. Silva's probably the most technical striker, sure, but Lopez carries that more weight behind the shots. And when you're talking about the judges scoring a close fight, that matters. The guy that's landing the shots that moves you, those are the moments that leave an impression. Now, I just want to mention this. Silva's going to have his moments. He might even steal the early rounds with his movements, his angles, those sneaky setups. It wouldn't surprise me if he tags Lopez, even a few times and gets the people hype. But I just think that Diego's gonna start figuring him out, making it gritty, get in his face, hit the body, tie him up, land some knees. And when Silva starts to feel like the weight of those exchanges, that's when the fight's gonna shift, in my opinion. So yeah, if I'm gonna make an early prediction, and keep in mind my prediction can change in the future, but in the meantime, I think I'm gonna go with Diego Lopez, 3rd round TKO. He takes the early licks, stay calm, and turns the fight into a brawl on his terms. I think he catches Silva coming in, maybe even a rear uppercut again, maybe a knee. Either way, I don't think this one sees the championship rounds.